All right, hope everybody is doing well. I wanted to have this conversation about unit trust versus stocks. I wanted to do this video for a while now, and I got the nudge after I saw a post by someone on X. I'm going to share the post shortly, and it got me thinking about the fact that just this is a conversation I have with my coaching clients all the time, right? One of the questions that I get asked, or as I'm helping persons, understand how to invest, because as a coach, I'll help persons learn about investing, being able to have or create their own process to investing, deciding on what options to choose for them, like kind of educating them about, what's possible in terms of investing. And so the question always comes up, when I see persons will have, unit trust, I'll ask them, why do you have it? What's the thought process? And the common thing I'd hear is that either, they've always had it, they're looking for something, to give them a certain amount of return, or they're doing it for some type of long-term saving, right? What I also do notice is that there are times when persons don't know why they have it, meaning they'll say it was a recommendation by their advisor, or it was just something that sounded like what they wanted. So they look at like the name of the fund and say, well, this sounds like it will give me what I want. So I want to talk about it, especially based on the thread I saw on X. I'll share the thread in a minute, but let me open up as I usually do here with a quick word of prayer. Lord, thank you so much for the ability to produce wealth. Lord, I pray that as we engage in this discussion, you will have each person go through a process of understanding how you would have them invest. I pray for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding as we navigate this world of investing. And I pray, Lord, that we will ultimately grow to be good stewards of the resources that you've blessed us with, in Jesus' name. All right. So again, hope everybody is good. Let me share the post. So I'm not officially logged in on X. So I'm kind of previewing this from the web, right? So this is it. The thing was posted on July 20th, so just a couple of days ago. And this person, Boogie, says, I invested in the capital growth fund at Barita 8 years ago. It's lost value ever since. You live and you learn. The JMMB Income and Growth Fund has lost value now, but at one point it was growing. Definitely believing buying individual stocks way more than these managed funds. And I realized that I'm not sharing my screen, so forgive me here. It says, I invested in the Capital and Growth Fund at Barita 8 years ago. It's lost value ever since. You live and you learn. The JMMB Income and Growth Fund has also lost value, but at one point was growing. Definitely believing buying individual stocks way more than these managed funds, right? So of course, as LGI, I would have responded to it and say, we're advocates for persons buying individual stocks. But I think, so my personal opinion is that every investment vehicle has a place. They just have to be leveraged in the right way. So this conversation we're gonna have is, I'm gonna try my best to help you understand or share my thoughts on it, and where I think it makes sense, when I think it makes sense. So if you do invest in a fund, you will, I think, treat it in the right way, and then of course you can kind of take it from there, right? So I wanted to look at the fund that was referenced here. So the Capital and Growth Fund, I did a search for it. You click, so this is Barita's page. Capital Growth Fund. Now, it has a minimum here. You can do subsequent top-ups. It says here it is meant for long-term, 5 to 10 years. It's high risk. It has tax-free gains. It's denominated in JMD, and there's a fact sheet. So I downloaded the fact sheet. So here's kind of pro tip number one here. if you're investing in any fund, you need to have that fact sheet or a statement or something that gives you the underlying scope of that fund, right? Because I think a lot of people don't understand, again, what they're investing in. And so if you purchase a fund, you need to understand and appreciate how that fund works, what its underlying assets are, and what kind of returns to reasonably expect, right? So that's what I'm going to go through here. So this is the fact sheet for it. Now, again, my aim here is not to tell you what to invest in one way or another. But as I said, I've always wanted to talk about this, never seemed to find the right time. That post kind of gave me the nudge. So here we go. So it says here when the inception date was. So this has been about since May 1st, 1993. The asset class is equity. The net asset value is 3.72 billion. Minimum purchase is 15,000 and subsequent is 10,000. We saw that earlier when it showed the summary. The trustee is the JCSD Trustee Service Limited. Asset securities under the trustee, the investment and cash must be registered in the name of and held by the trustee on behalf of the unit holders. This means that investors' monies are 100% segregated from Barita as well as JCSD Trustee Services Limited, the fund manager, right? And the value as at May 30th, 2025 is $77.89. That's the price. So unit trust, each unit has a price, right? And it has here the yield doesn't show that value. Year-to-date return is minus 4.6%, meaning this calendar year that we're in, as at the point of this date here, is down 4%, right? The 12-month growth rate is 0.14%, which means 12 months in the back from this date, it has grown 0.14%. All right. So that's it. You can get your risk profile here. It is meant to be aggressive, right? So here's the thing. Anything that you invest in that's classified as aggressive, it's telling you that there's good risk of gain, but there's also good risk of loss. Again, you have to kind of, understand that. And it's showing capital growth fund year-over-year return. So the person who did the post mentioned they've been invested for 8 years. Now, 8 years back from this, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So in the year that they might have bought, assuming it's 2017, that year it did 24%. The following year, it actually went up 30%. So when they said they lost money ever since, what this is saying is that the following year it made money, the year after it made money as well, right? But of course, it may be the particular point in time that they purchased, or I don't know what the unit price was specifically that year, but this is saying the year-over-year return for the first 2 years were positive if the person bought in 2017, right? So just kind of sharing that here. For 2020, it went down. For 2021, it grew by 8%. For 2022, it grew 4%. In 2023, it went to negative 15.94%. 2024, it grew by 1.39%. And then for 2025, it's down 4.61%, right? So if you had purchased from 2009, this is showing, you'd have to add up all the growth, subtract all the negatives. You might have this quick math appear as if you would have been up if you bought from 2009, which is another, lesson here. It depends on when you buy, the price you buy at, and how long you hold for, right? So there's that. But this, before you invest in any unit trust, I recommend that you look at the history. I tell persons, look at the last 3 to 5 years, right? So anybody investing in a unit trust or equity fund or anything of that nature now, look at the last 5 years, right? That's my minimum recommendation. If you can go as far back as a year, you can, right? But go through all of it. You want to look at the fund objective. So it says here, the capital growth fund is a pooled fund which predominantly consists of stocks and shares in addition to fixed income investments, stock present unique opportunities where capital can grow generally faster than other asset classes. However, while investments in equities can grow, they also can lose value from falling equity prices. Money market instruments, on the other hand, generally offer security of capital, but while this value remains fixed and secure, inflation over time can erode some of the gains. So it's pretty much, I think, giving you, the disclaimer, which, they all will do, and tells you here why to invest in the fund. Let me see what else it has. It has a management fee, so 3% is the managers receive a maximum of 3% on the equivalent of $50 million US, $50 million US dollars, and 2.5% on the remainder of the deposited property, right? And it showed the overall value already. Special tax advantages. Income received by way of interest and dividends by the trustee is received without deduction of tax as long as the money market instruments do not exceed 50% of the NAV, and so on, right? So it shows 5-year return, 10-year average return. So if you had it for 10 years, it would be up 15%, right? And then it's showing some details here. So I do like the detail that you see here. So you can look at this, I think, and make an informed decision, right? Now, here are some of the things I think might have been working against this particular fund. It doesn't say anywhere that I've read that it invests in overseas securities. It just says equities and then some fixed instruments. So if this is local, you have to look at the underlying asset. The underlying asset is stocks. So it doesn't show a mix here. Maybe it's somewhere there and I missed it. But it seems like there's I'm looking at the baby monitor to see if my son is waking up. Hopefully he stays asleep, or I'll have to go and get him. So stocks, well, it doesn't say the allocation, but some stocks, some fixed income, but it's called a growth fund, which means it's likely going to have mostly stocks. So maybe like 60-70% stocks, I'm not sure. Yeah, my son is awake. When he's this is gonna be an interesting stream. So my son is right beside me. Let's see. Okay. So I don't remember what I was talking about, but yes, I was saying that you have to think about what the underlying asset class is, right? I think that's what these come down to. And so if the market is down, meaning let's say it's primarily invested in stocks. If the market is down, meaning the Jamaica Stock Exchange in terms of the index is down, it's very likely that the fund is also down, because the fund is going to be investing in a basket of stocks. And so since the pandemic, so the JSE, I believe, was the top market in 2015, 2018. 2019 was also good. The pandemic came and the market has struggled since then. Every unit trust, equity fund, mutual fund that has stocks, Jamaican stocks, as their underlying asset or majority underlying asset, is going to perform as the market performs, if not worse, depending on what's in the basket. So I think that's something that person should understand. So if you're holding any fund, then you have to bear that in mind, right? So personally, I would not hold. I'm trying to stay away from these things. Let me grab my disclaimer very quickly before there are any articles published. You heard Jeremy from LGI said. So it's gonna be tricky to see funds similar to this one that are predominantly made up of Jamaican equities do well in this climate. So you have to see the market recover. You have to see I think things going in the opposite direction, and they've been going for you to see returns in those funds. Now, I was planning a video to review like multiple funds, kind of show how they're made up, how they're performed in the past. But I thought I'd just, grab that one. So I don't want to single out, the capital growth fund, but that's the one that was referenced in the post. And for the JMMB fund here, I couldn't see like its fact sheet or anything like that. Maybe that's something you can get from JMMB. But, this is what the post said. And actually, interestingly enough, Google's AI gave an overview of the post, right? Here's a breakdown of the key points. So, the person said that they invested in the funds 8 years ago. They've seen a decrease. Another user mentioned that this fund also experienced a period of decline after an initial growth phase, and so on and so forth, right? So I personally would say that, I am an advocate for individual stocks. So I wanted to talk about the individual stock option as well, because here's the thing: as much as I'm an advocate for it, I believe that I think your best investment return rests with you learning how to invest in individual stocks. For the Jamaica market, that is. For the US market, I think you stand a better chance with a fund than you do in Jamaica. So I'll say that as well, right? You okay, sir? He wants me to pick it up. So yes, sir. Yes, Amara. So actually, that's one of the things I was gonna say. Where the US, no, the individual stocks do have a certain amount of risk, right? They do have a certain amount of risk. One sec after, maybe I'll just turn off my camera and I can still speak. So yes, the individual stocks do carry the most risk, but they do carry the most risk. But I would say with the balance of risk, with the balance of risk, it also balances your potential upside as well. So you have to understand that you can't get the reward without the risk. Like it's just not going to work that way, right? So persons think about all the time, the upside that they want, but they don't think about the risk that they face. So I do know that individual stocks have the most risk, but you have to understand as well that they also provide the most upside. You can't have one without the other. It's a balance of risk. Let me see how my camera, is that it's gonna be okay? I think he's yeah, I don't think Renee would want me to show him on camera just yet. So yeah, I'll speak like this for now. So you have to balance both, right? So you can't have Omar the upside without the risk, right? So let me see what some of you guys are seeing here. If there are any questions as well, feel free to let me know. I'm looking to see if there are any questions. So Shell said, I'm just watching the socks to watch and catching up to the Telegram group now. Now another live 1 month and I'm way behind. Shell's cool, man. Chevy says invest 55% in stock, 35% in unit trust, and keep 10% in high yield fixed interest. No thanks for me. Unit trust has merit for those who don't have time or desire to research individual stocks. Individual stocks are way too risky. I don't agree here, meaning if you don't have time to do research, then to me that doesn't make sense. Like you have to find some time to invest in doing research to ensure that you make a good investment decision. I think that's a reasonable thing. For those who say they don't have time, which is another video I'm planning to do, by the way, for those who say they don't have time to invest, if you have time to do other things, you have time to do things that may not bear any fruit at all, right? And this is not throwing shade or coming down on anyone, but the Bible says, at the very least, you can find someone to help, right? That's talking about the parable of the talents here. So I think if you don't have time to research yourself, then find somebody who can help you. But at the same time, you have to take ownership of your own financial future, and investment is an important part of that, right? So because the risk here that you have is you invest in a fund, you don't monitor that fund, you don't track that fund, you don't research that fund, and then you're probably in a worse off position than when you started because you've lost money, right? So and as I said, I think it comes down to a matter of time and not necessarily what you're investing. So I think now funds are having a hard time because the markets are down. So I believe the best performing fund last year was a real estate fund because real estate is doing well right now. So you have to bear that in mind, that the underlying asset is going to drive how the fund does. All right. So, and for those wondering why I don't have my camera on, my son is in my lap and I'm feeding him right now. Right. So Shell says unit trust is for the broker. Buy stocks for yourself and save on fees. Most of the time, units are not outperforming the market. Again, it just depends on the state of the market and what the underlying fund is on, right? Because you notice for that same Barita fund that was mentioned, for the years of 2015, when the market was doing well, and 2018 when the market was doing well, the fund did 51% and 30%. So if there are some persons who would not be able to get those returns on their own. So if you can invest in a fund and get 50% growth in a year, which chances are it's probably what would have attracted some persons to it in the first place, right? So I wouldn't say that it doesn't outperform the market, it performs in line with the market. That's one of the things I'll say there as well. All right. So this person says only unit trusts you should be investing in are the ones that invest in REITs or foreign bonds, as everything else is irrelevant. Again, that comes down to time. So REITs and foreign bonds may be doing well right now, but if the US market starts to turn, those funds are going to stop doing well as well. So just bear that in mind, right? So it says the JC is on a season break, way better opportunity on other markets. It's not worth sending money to JA to invest. I do not agree. I think that it's actually a good time to invest in the Jamaican market. Now you just have to know how, right? There's still opportunities there. I don't think it's an either or though. I think it's both. I think you invest in the overseas market, you take advantage of those opportunities, and you also invest in the Jamaican market because there are ways to make money on this market as well. I would like to know, how does a unit trust operate when it comes to using clients' money to purchase stocks? What happens to the fund each time the client puts money in and how it affects NAV? I'll see if I can get somebody to speak about that, but my understanding of how it works is that the managers, so when the fund is created, it has to be created with a particular scope. That scope determines how the funds can be invested. They might also have a frequency with which they update it or rebalance that trust or fund. That's my understanding of it. So the trustees would meet and determine, what they'll do, right? That's my understanding of how it works at a high level. Anybody watching this can either comment or let me know if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding of how it works. Does anyone invest with BPM? Not me. Can't speak to them. Waiting 10 years for 15%. Well, here's the thing. If you left that money in your savings account for 10 years, you're gonna lose a lot more than 15%, right? So yeah. Is there normally a certain time your money should be invested before you can pull it out? No. So how the trusts work, Troy, and it's so I want to use the word benefit here very loosely. The benefit of investing in a unit trust is that the unit trusts are bought and sold directly to the broker. So you can actually sell it anytime. A unit trust can be sold anytime because you're selling it to the broker. So there's no other investor to be able to buy or sell from. You're selling it to the broker, which means it can sell instantly. So if you want to buy it today, you can buy it. If you want to sell it tomorrow, you can sell it. So that's my understanding of it, just from the unit trusts I've bought in the past. All right. Not a good investment based on my experience, both in Florida and in Jamaica. Okay. Good night, Orville. I bought my own shirt, sir. Bought my own shirt. I know how to dress. Renee taught me, but you know, I bought this one myself. Painful kiss of joy. Listen, don't even declare that, sir. I'm not gonna read those. Most funds in Jamaica is not good. Again, I would, well, I don't know. The best funds off the top of my head are the VM Wealth Global Equity Fund, Sagicor Sigma Global Equity, and NCB Real Estate Fund. As I said, I wanted to do a video on like take the best and the worst performing fund from each broker, put them in a tracker, go through it. I just need the time to do the research because I don't want to have to do any retractions or anything like that. So hopefully when I get some time when school is out, I can do that. All right. Levine says, I used to buy unit trusts locally, but they only increase so much then flatten. Okay. Seeing better returns buying individual companies, same like me. So I'll tell that story another time. The only unit trusts that make sense in my opinion are the fixed income ones. You don't lose the capital, but you gain monthly interest. The real estate ones seem okay-ish. Well, Warrell, real estate ones are actually doing better now than I think even the fixed income one. Again, it depends on where we are, right? Diplomat is saying unrelated, but any news on tropical battery allotments and disbursements? No, haven't seen anything, haven't heard anything. No, so don't know. Shell says, I always say people find time to do what's important to them. It doesn't matter how busy I am, I always have time to watch cat videos. Yeah, so I agree here, right? But here's the thing. I do believe that, so for example, there are seasons where you can be busy and you may not have the time to do the same depth of research. But I think sometimes people just need guidance, right? So for example, that's why I offer coaching, not doing a plug for my coaching here, but there are persons who it's not that they don't want to do the research, but they don't know how. So having a coach, like someone like myself who can work with them, teach them how, be somebody that can bounce ideas off of, etc., will help. So I've found that persons who consider coaching who thought they didn't have the time, we work out a system for them to do research, we work out a system for them to be able to do to manage and track their portfolio, they usually start to see progress. So life is about seasons, right? So Karine says their FX fund is giving good returns currently. Which one are you talking about, Karine? Which FX funds? Have you looked at NCB Real Estate Fund? Any views on them? No, I haven't looked at any other fund as yet. So what I want you to do, guys, is send me the funds. Send me the funds that you want me to review, and I will have a look at them. Sorry, you can't come on camera. Send me the funds that you want me to check out, and I will do my best to review them. I just wanted to show that, you know, I'm alive. For those who saying it's the LGI radio show, I'm not ready to do a radio show yet. 2 years ago, I drank JMMB Income and Growth Kool-Aid. The only noticeable growth was what I put in it. After 2 years, I closed the account. Again, Shells, it's the time that you're doing the investing. For the last 2 years, the local equities market has not done well. So if it's just the last 2 years, you're not likely to see anything positive there. All right, good night from Trinidad and Tobago, or UTC in Trinidad and Tobago has seen the same due to market and it's related to the TSC. UTC is good so far for my emergency fund, which is TTMF. The View 868, message me because I'm very interested in the Trinidad market. Actually, was researching it for a long while to do some content on the US, on the Trinidad, on the TTSE market, but I need somebody who actively knows the market to kind of serve, to give me some background and fill some gaps. So if you're interested and you have the time, message me on IG or any one of our platforms so we can talk. But thanks for that context. So far my experience with the mutual funds are down due to equity, but I invest small, but most of my investments are on the equity side. So the View, let me know what's the opportunity you have from Trinidad to invest in the US markets, because I spoke to somebody from Trinidad and I said to them, I think if you're in Trinidad with the FX kind of crisis that you guys have, I was saying to the person, I would open a US bank account. I would try to get funds, however much I can send to that US bank account, and invest in the US market as well as the Trinidad market. The Trinidad market to me has been a little tricky in terms of what you call it, the US, the Trinidad market is interesting because of liquidity. So I think the liquidity is not great in the Trinidad market. I think the number of stocks that you have are maybe 20, 25, if I'm not mistaken. I do know that you have an SME market, and I know there are a few funds because we worked with GK a couple of years back and TTUTC, I think it is, for a mutual fund webinar, right? So I'm familiar with them. I haven't tracked it in terms of how it's performed since, but yeah. So the JMMB Ultimate Capital Real Estate Fund, okay, that's the one you're talking about. Oh, okay, this was years ago. This one says, what are your thoughts on proven wealth funds? I rarely hear people mention them. Is it because the high requirements to get in compared to, when you say high requirements, you mean the 200K or 250K minimum proven has? Okay, so any fund you want me to review, send it to me and I'll check it out. All right. If you have any questions as well on Instagram, on any platform, let me know. Shell says, I'm not a patient person. I need no less than 30K per quarter for bonds or unit trust for them to make sense. That's a small goal, actually. It depends on how much you're invested. Shells, maybe. Well, no, leave that alone. So yeah. What else can I say here about this? Let me see. Do you invest in unit trust now? All right, so I'll leave that there. So yeah, so I'll say that you just have to understand that based on how the market is now, and let me see if I can just probably put it on something else now. Sorry, you want to lie back down? I think he's ready to lie back down. Hold on. Want to lie down, sir? Hope that buys me a few minutes. Right. I knew that I took a risk doing this stream, and yeah, but I don't want Rennie to wake up. So I made sure to get him before he woke her up. And hopefully he will stay here. I have like 20 minutes more on the stream, so yeah. So small goal and they weren't delivering. Yeah. But I want to do a proper analysis though, to just kind of go through it. But for those who invest overseas, again, I think it's both. It's not either or, it's both. And so just be guided by that. So I'll take any questions that you may have. Take any questions here. I just wanted to, as I said, cover that. Also, he wants to play. All right. So let me see here. Earnings season is coming up. So Q2 reports are going to be due in 2 to 3 weeks. So we'll go through that and talk about that when that comes out. Yeah. All right. Is there anything that I missed? I don't think I missed anything, but as I said, guys, just understand that if you're going to be investing in a unit trust, look at the last 3 to 5 years of performance, possibly longer. Look at the underlying assets that it's made up of. Look at what your personal investment goals are and how soon you'd be looking for a return. And I don't think the excuse of not being able to do research can fly. Now, if you can't, actively track everything, I get that. But you should be able to work out a system that gets you to do something, right? Investing in 15 companies too much? That depends. That depends. But if you're starting out, so here's the thing. Definitely too much for the person who don't have time to do research. Let me say it that way. Definitely too much for somebody who can't do research. If you have a large capital, if you have the ability to manage and track all of them, by all means, go ahead. My recommendation is 4 to 6, maximum 10 if you're starting out. You want to invest for one of 3 things. You want to invest for income, which is dividend investing. You want to invest for growth, which is a focus on capital gains, or you want to invest for value, right? That's what I'd say. So I said on the Stock Watch video that Sagicor Select Fund is going to court. Why do they need to do that to make changes? I believe it's just based on how it was structured, right? Because when it was, so remember, before you can come to market or have that kind of fund, you have to have like a legal document to say, this is why the fund was created. This is what it's doing. So if they want to convert it to a trust, they have to get that approval, I think legally first. Then shareholders have to vote on it. Then the conversion would take place. That's my understanding of it. So I think it's a little bit to do with that as well, but maybe just how it was, constructed in the first place. Because no, the voting has not taken place as yet. That's the thing. The voting has not taken place yet. So what I last heard, let me see if I can find them as well. Sagicor Select funds. I believe they would have put the notice out that they're gonna have the date soon. So their AGM is coming up. So I think their AGM is a perfect time to get any updates on this. So their AGM will be August 19th, 2025. So I figure we'll find out more details on where they are relating to it. So if you're a shareholder in Select Funds, I would attend that AGM. Let me do a search as well. Sagicor Select Funds News. So this one was in March. I think something came out after, but it says here they filed an application with the Supreme Court of Jamaica Monday, seeking permission to convene shareholder meetings regarding the proposed conversion of two funds into unit trust in a bid to deliver better value to shareholders. Well, I guess you're making a point there, right? So if they had to, well, no, sorry, wrong thing I was gonna say. So let me see if it speaks to the process. The road to conversion involves a carefully orchestrated regulatory process requiring multiple levels of approval. Simultaneously with its court application, they're preparing documentation for the FSC to register the two planned unit trusts. If the Supreme Court authorizes shareholders' meetings and investors subsequently approve the conversion by the required majorities, a second court hearing will be necessary to obtain final judicial sanction for the scheme. So it's a long road ahead, right? So yeah, there's that. All right, I'm taking questions. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll stick around for a couple more minutes. Do you invest in a unit trust now? Let me know. How quickly can I do a slide? I wanted to see how many persons invest. What if the court approve but shareholders vote against it? Then it doesn't happen. The shareholders have to agree. So I was hoping they would have gotten the approval there and then they could just do the vote at the AGM. But if they don't get any approval by then, they may have to hold an extraordinary meeting. Okay, yep, you're ready to sleep again. Okay, so I don't think shareholders would not approve though, because there's only upside for shareholders. There's only upside because it is currently not trading at fair value. If you convert, you can sell at fair value. So I don't see why they would vote against it. Is it better to open a brokerage account with a bank or private company such as QMax or Burrito? I would say for the number of controls and rigors and auditing that goes to a bank, I would open a brokerage account with a bank because you have greater visibility of what's happening with that bank. And it's not just not all banks have brokers, but so for example, I like to work with the ones who are listed. So the JMMBs, the Sagicors, the NCB Capital Markets, the Scotia Investments, because of the, I think, type of management involved. For a private broker, such as QMax or BPM or one of those, you have no visibility. There's no AGM for you to go to or anything for you to be able to see what's happening on the inside. So I would not feel comfortable with a private company right now unless there is some, I don't know what they have to assure me that everything is okay, because look at the BPM article, and though though Observer had to do a retraction, there is a Supreme Court. There is a Supreme Court case out. There is something that happened, and there's no really more details that's obligated to be reported because they're private. So I'm not necessarily feeling confident with any private company at all in that regard. Are you a shareholder, sir? Well, it sounds like you are. I'm getting a guaranteed 50% gain on my money when conversion takes place. Yes, I mean, there's no downside. There's no downside to the approval, right? Again, final call for questions. I have just a few minutes. I'll wrap this up at the hour mark. Yeah, so Tryon says heavy shareholder. Yeah, I mean, there's no, I cannot see a downside, right? Again, Tryon, I think a lot of people are probably waiting until it is confirmed. You know how some persons will operate? They want it to be confirmed before they make a decision. Not that I'm a shareholder, but that one was kind of, it's been written in the stars. Okay, all right. All right, that's it. I'll stop it here since there are no questions. Again, hope everybody's doing well. We have our community meetup tomorrow, and so hope everybody is doing well. And I only have one unit trust invested in at the moment, a fixed income one that compounds. All right. Chairman, we're about to sign off, so sorry about that, but yeah, my son is right beside me. He is about a minute or two away from crying, so I don't want to scare those who don't have kids yet. I don't want to scare anybody from having kids. So yeah, so I just wanted to share my thoughts on the post. Again, this video was triggered by this post here, and I thought it's just interesting conversation to have. So let me know in the comments. Do you invest in unit trust now? If so, which one? And I'll try to see which ones are common theme, and I'll try to do videos on them. All right. So hope everybody is doing well, and I'll see you again real soon.
Learning is the key to successful investing, and who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N Grow Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-based financial coaching program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com
and follow us on all social media platforms at L.E.A.R.N Grow Invest.